Um, yeah, let's start the class then. Hi, Dr. William.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Let's see here. After this, can you stay a little bit? I'd like to talk to you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. You recognize him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Recognize him? Okay. So how you been then, Dr. William?
I've been doing well. How have you been?
Thanks. Let me close the volume then. Okay. All right. So let's continue, right? So last time we talked about the inquiry or the investigation. That's been for Buddhist people. They would encourage us to ask a question before we believe, before we practice. It's like the student, right? They go to the lab to test out whether it's true or not. That's what. That's one of the factor for us to practice. And let's see here. Oh, yeah, Dr. William, you were not here last week.
No.
Yeah. So, what do you think about your student when you give the lecture, right? We allow them to ask questions, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, uh, in Buddhism, that's what the Buddha encouraged to do. So what happened? What do you think when someone they may not mm, uh, want to investigate anything, but can't believe in that? What do you think? Is that fruitful? Is that mm, beneficial for them, or what do you think?
Not as beneficial as if they would want to question things, to ask questions, to test ideas themselves, to see if um, uh, if the ideas are meaningful to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is appropriate for this modern age, right? For us to inquire, to ask a question before we move on that path or whichever way. Let's say when we go to supermarket to buy something else, we need to ask whether this suitable for my need or not, right?
Right.
For food, whichever. Mm. Okay, so today I like to continue to discuss about another factor uh, that we uh, need to consider, what we call the effort, energy. Can you see Thắng Thiện?
Yes, Thầy.
So the effort and the energy. So doing anything, we need to have some effort. We need to put some effort, right? For the student, they need to put some effort to study. Sometime at all, but sometime in my classes, the student they say, "Oh, but we didn't do anything." I try to contact them, give them some kind of warnings. If they don't respond, if they don't do anything, we have no choice. It's actually whenever they have bad grade, somehow it hurt me too. I I only enjoy when they made a good grade. Yes. How about you?
Oh, the same.
Sam?
Yeah, it's frustrating when you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can be very frustrating when you want the best for a student and they don't put in the time and effort that it takes, and you know that they have the skill. Mm-hmm. So it's it makes you a little bit sad.
Yeah, I wonder, especially in college, they have to pay for the course. They say up, but they don't do anything. I don't know why. Uh, yeah, Dr. William, what do you think? Is you encounter some kind of that situation, right?
Right? I figure if they have paid for the course, they had better get their money's worth.
Yeah.
And I agree with the gentleman who was just talking about how he feels about the bad grades, and I agree with you on that. I would prefer to give everybody an A,
Mm-hmm.
but they have to earn that A, and
Definitely.
very often they don't work or study uh, enough to merit that A.
Mm. Yeah. Uh, yeah, disappointed too. Yeah, when they don't do anything, and of course, for us a teacher or professor, we cannot give them the grade unless they work for that. They, so anyway, so in any circumstances, the student, the business, any circumstances, any professional work, we need to put some effort, right? Without effort, we cannot go anywhere. Right? So that's why even in practice meditation, we need to put some effort, especially the daily practice, so that we can feel that we can control our mind. That's just what about. Yeah, uh, and the effort here in Buddhism is called the effort to avoid, effort to overcome, effort to develop, and effort to maintain. Let's see here. Vivian, are you there, Vivian? Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, this is Vivian.
Oh, good. So you driving or you at home?
I'm just not at home, so I don't have Wi-Fi.
It's okay, yeah. All right, so welcome then. So these are the effort that the Buddha encouraged us to have. So the effort to avoid, to prevent harmful action and emotion that have not yet arisen. So any action, any emotion, any thought that be harmful for ourselves and others, we need to avoid uh, because they disturb our mind and other people. So we need to make some kind of effort, like let's say I used to tell the children when they walk on the street, watch out for the bugs, so don't step on them intentionally. Yeah, uh, or uh, smashing the fly. So that is why we need to avoid to avoid from doing those things to harm others, uh, because when we harm others, it means we harm ourselves. Mm. So, and when we harm others, it means we disturb our mind. We cannot be peaceful. We cannot maintain that kind of peacefulness. Mm. Uh, so you know what happened in Washington D.C. today?
Yeah, there was someone that tried to run over the Capitol Police or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Some of them died, right?
Mm-hmm.
One police officer died. You know that?
I saw something about it, but I thought the person that did it died. I didn't know the police officer actually died too.
Yeah, the police shot the other guy.
Oh, okay. Wow. So again, uh, yeah, if they harm others, there's no way for them to be peaceful. And that's why the Buddha say that we need to avoid, to put some effort to avoid those things. And we know that, yeah. Uh, and in the spiritual practice, we need to avoid sensual desire, ill-will, anger, sloth, stupidness. That's to do with our laziness and restlessness and remorse and doubt. So those are here. Those are the things that we need to avoid. But I like to ask that let's see, how could we avoid being angry then? If some things go against our will, how could we avoid them? How? What do you think?
It's hard
It's
because,
hard, right?
yeah,
Mm.
have to stop yourself because I'm dealing with a lot of salespeople right now, and you can't just help but get angry with them because they'll tell you one thing one day and another thing the next day, and it just frustrates me so much because I'm like, how can you live with yourself? But I gotta stop myself from like using harsh words with them and just kind of just hearing what they're saying and just understanding they tell me a bunch of different things, but like I don't try to call them on it or anything, I just try to go with it because it's better for my peace of mind. Because if I get angry and I start, thinking, well, you said this and you said that, and it's better for me just to let it go and go with whatever they're saying in the moment. Because they're going to change it anyway. So what's the point of even arguing with them? But just remember in your peace of mind, it's best just to let it go and just see it for what it is and go with it and just see how it flows after that. But it is difficult, very difficult.
How about when you have a lot of thought going on, then what do you think? How could you avoid that?
My son even said this last night. He was trying to go to sleep, and he's been having issues like falling asleep. He's like, I'm scared. And so last night he said, I keep having all these thoughts swirling around in my mind while they keep swirling around. I said, that's why we need to do meditation to slow those thoughts down. And he said, I'm going to get a headache. I'm like, that's exactly right.
Oh, really? Uh-huh. And you play the music box for him?
Yeah, I play the music box.
It cool down the mind.
Well, I play it all the time, but I started the past few nights because he's having extra issues. I play the Heart Sutra, and that helps him a lot. I found the Heart Sutra online, and then after that, we play. I go to the Buddha Net, and I'll play
the song.
Yeah, the Buddha Net's got a bunch of songs. So the one about one's like, "Why am I here?" Because he asked me the other day, "Why am I even here?" So I play that one. Then "Kindness is Love" or something, the kindness song.
Wow.
And I'll just repeat it over and over, and then I'll fall asleep with that one. But I keep the box going.
That's good then. That's good for them. Yeah, sometimes they're too young to control their mind, right? To focus.
And then when it gets dark out, it's harder on them when it's dark.
So how about you, student? When they have why mind in the class, how could you help them out there?
I usually call on them at that point.
What's that?
I can see that they're there but not there. And I'll think of a way to involve them somehow without making them feel like I'm picking on them.
It's not easy. How? Can you have a trick?
I just have to use a nice tone. I ask them what they think. If I see that they're in the distance. But what Tammy was saying about slowing the mind down, I think that gives you right effort and intention to not become entangled in the emotion.
Yeah. So thân thiện, if you have a lot of things going on in your mind, how could you handle? How could you avoid that?
Yeah, I think it's better if you be mindful of your thoughts before when I have these thoughts, and the next thing is the feeling, and then whatever feeling that I have, either angry, sad, or happy, or something, or anything, and then the next thing to come up is your perception. Whether if you are very angry and you are unlikely to have a bad perception, thinking that think about the very bad stuff that you want to do. I think it's better if you try to practice meditation very often, so that you can be prepared to be mindful of what thoughts come up to your mind, and so that you need to prepare what you should do in order to have bad perception, and that's what I would do.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Dr. William, when you teach them, the student online, and somehow we can feel, right? You can feel that they sit there, but somehow their mind goes somewhere else, right? So how you have any trick to bring them back?
Uh, I will ask them questions very gently. And if they show that their thoughts have been elsewhere, I tell them, well, I'm going to come back to you and ask you about that again. And then we go on and we talk about something else with somebody else in the class. And when I promise that I'm going to do that, I'm going to come back to them, I always come back to them. And by that time, they had thought about what they think because they've been called out in the class. They've been, they have been they've been pointed to in the class, but you very gently come back to them. You circle back to them and give them time to think about a question, so that when they have an answer to the question, they are involved in the class again.
Yes, most of the time when I have the online class, I would assign them to be prepared for the questions that we go to talk. But sometimes they log in without preparation, and when it's turn for them to respond, they get lost. So, like Dr. William just mentioned, usually I will say, okay, hand on that question, we come back to you. So they know, at least they know that their responsibility to respond to the question, and it's normal. So we give them a kind of space. Yeah. Yeah. So in our daily life too, when we have a lot of things to concern, somehow we may get lost once in a while too. So we need times. But again, with the daily practice, it helps us to calm the mind uh, much faster if we don't have any skill. Mm. Yeah, so that's what here is say that we try to avoid, we try to deal with them. And because when we confuse, when we have all kind of restlessness in our mind, we could not know what we're doing, even the more doubt. So here, the Buddha say that they harmful thought. And one thing I want to mention is that uh, uh, how could we help some people, whether they are our students or whoever, they're in a state of depression, especially if they want to harm themselves. You have that kind of encountered kind of situation before.
Mhm.
How could you deal with that?
Several years ago, I had a student have a breakdown of sorts, and at the end of the class, the very last part of the day, I just kind of pulled him aside and listened. I knew I couldn't fix his pain, but I could listen.
Mm.
And I ended up talking with him for about 2 hours after school, and he seemed to calm down a little bit. And we contacted his father, and he came and picked him up. And it turned out well, but it was a frightening moment.
Yeah. You encountered that kind of situation before?
No,
No.
not really. Mm-mm.
Okay. How about you, Dr. William? You encountered that kind of situation?
Yes, and I feel that I'm fortunate in that the university has a whole network of people who have been trained to help students in these situations.
Mm.
So, what I have done in the several times that this has happened is that, like the gentleman was saying there, it's good to listen to them to begin with. But then the next step is to bring in somebody who's more qualified to deal with profession than I am, depression than I am. And I think that the occasions that I've done that have worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, I deal with that kind of situation that people to, even in my own communities, Vietnamese communities, some of them, they cannot speak English much. So, uh, usually I come to them to help. Yes, if they can speak English, yeah, we have a lot of resource nowadays in our communities. But because of the limited in language, so they could not get much resources. And sometimes I try my best to listen, to give them advice and so forth. But it's not easy to have the breakthrough. It's not easy. But we have to be patient. Yeah, and I advise them to go to hospital to take the medicine too. But sometimes it's work, especially with the medicine. Plus, they do some kind of prayer and meditation. That's a combination, not once, but combinations. And but in the mindfulness practice, what they call uh, MBCT, mindfulness-based uh, cognitive therapies, has specialized in helping people who have depression. Um, uh, and in the um, regular uh, psychology practice, so they provide only what they know CBT, cognitive behavior therapies. So most of the time, let's say if someone has a kind of thought they want to harm themselves, or they feel depressed, they feel that they so low, they feel that they worthless. So the psychologists in this they use CBT to encourage them in the other side. That's mean, oh, okay, you can do this, you can do this, and basically they want to lift up that patient spirit to think in the positive side, in the positive way, instead of the negative way. But sometimes it doesn't work much because the more we think about the positive side, the more the negative thought would pop up. They say that the more we resist, the more it persists. That's the more we resist any negative things, the more they occur. So in the mindfulness-based cognitive therapies, it led the patient to accept their own thought, not to fight, not to block them out. Accept the thought and try to let go. That's one of the techniques of the MBCT. Instead of thinking in the other side, instead of thinking in the positive side, because the more we think about positive side of the body, the more pressure they may have with the negative side of the mind. Make sense? Yeah. So there's the whole process of treatment, and of course, it's work with some people, but sometimes it does work. But somehow they feel they have some researchers that they have more successful in using that one. Okay, anyway, so uh, some people they yeah, they don't recognize their abilities, so that's why they have that kind of negative thought about them, and they want to harm themselves. That's why here the Buddha say that we need to overcome. I'm sorry, to avoid those kind of thought. Avoid here doesn't mean that we suppress them. We try to recognize and let them go. Mm. Yeah. Okay, so that's what the the self-doubt, whichever, or the one that they want to harm themselves, and so forth. Yeah. So the next one is the effort to overcome. Again, it's similar, but this is the effort we put to overcome the harmful states of the mind that already arisen. We should abandon the harmful state, dispel them, destroy them, and cause them to disappear. So here the Buddha provide 5 techniques uh, that uh, we can handle them, chase away the harmful thought with the helpful one. That's one, like the replacement. That's one way. Regret, that means if we have done something wrongly, so we regret and we will have that kind of thought not to do it again. And now this technique is diverse attention. So let's say uh, if we have some thought about harm ourselves, so it's better to do something else. That's what it's about. Diversion, confrontation, and confrontation is to accept, to recognize, and not suppression. That's important. So depend upon the skill that we practice in meditation, we can handle that type of uh, thoughts, especially the harmful thoughts, whichever, the thought that harm ourselves, the thought that harm others. Um, so let's go back to, I don't know whether you pay attention on my talk on last Sunday, self-compassion. Do you remember? Mm. You know what's meant self-compassion? What's mean?
Uh, if I'm remembering, we were talking about if you're showing compassion for other people, somehow you are able to handle things better that are affecting you, to divert your attention onto something or someone else.
But in general, you understand what means self-compassion. Is that similar or different from put ourselves first? Is that different or similar?
I think you could be compassionate towards yourself and others. You have to you have to be in a complete state before you can truly help.
Yeah. What do you think?
So having compassion for yourself is different than putting yourself first. I mean, it's the same but different, because you have to put yourself first, but you don't have to like cut everybody's throat to put yourself first. You need to put yourself first and take care of yourself so that you can take care of others, because without taking care of yourself, you can't help others. And then you need to be compassionate for yourself, because if you're not compassionate towards yourself, then you're not going to be able to really be compassionate to other people also. So it's very important to have compassion, and especially when you start doing something like meditation, you'll have all kinds of thoughts come up that you didn't realize were there, and you'll see yourself going back into bad patterns and habits, and you need to have compassion for yourself and not get down on yourself and drag yourself through the mud, but instead have compassion for what you're doing and what you've accomplished, and keep being kind.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, thank you. So Thăng Thiền, oh yeah, Dr. William is still there, right?
He's reconnecting.
Yeah. Okay, Thăng Thiền, you understand the difference between putting ourselves first and self-compassion? You understand?
Put ourselves first and versus self-compassion. I'm seeing that put on ourselves first is like we need to take care of ourselves We need to do everything that to make us happy and satisfied, and do whatever that we going to chase after. We chase we are going after our desire or something. And compassion for ourselves is something that you look inward in yourself. You get to know yourself, and you need to find you a way that you to increase compassion in yourself, so that and you need to know yourself, so that you can be able to bring compassion to other people. That's what I understand.
Yeah, Dr. William, we talk about whether we put ourselves first is similar as having self-compassion, or are they different? What do you think?
I'm sorry, ask it again. I'm having trouble with my connection.
Okay, yeah. Can you hear now?
Yes.
So you understand self-compassion?
Yes.
Okay, and how about there's similar or different from putting ourselves first, to care for ourselves first. Is that the same as self-compassion or different?
Oh, I think that compassion involves sharing important priorities with those around us, and very often it involves putting them first rather than ourselves.
Sorry, my power. Yeah, sorry, Dr. William, you can, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, can continue. Sorry, my computer almost out of power, so I can plug in there. Yeah. So so you see any difference between self-compassion and putting ourselves first, or are they the same?
No, I think that they're very often they are the opposite. It's putting others first is more compassionate in many situations, maybe most situations.
Let's say, okay, let's go back to self-compassion, because it relates to things that, let's say, sometimes we don't recognize that we do things that may be harmful for ourselves. Let's say someone, they feel so depressed and they want to harm themselves. So if they have the kind of problem, depression, there's no way for them to help others, right?
Right.
That means they have to take care of themselves first, to take care of their mind, to take care of their physical body or their life, before they have abilities to help other people. In general, that's kind of self-caring. And compassion, again, this means you recognize that you don't, or you cannot consume some food that may be harmful for your body, or have this harmful thought that harm yourself and others. That's opposite with self-compassion. That's, yes, when we consume the healthy food, yes, we care for this body. It doesn't mean that we go out to drink, we go out to indulge in and consume all kind of food, but at least to have the healthy food for us to be healthy physically and mentally. We need to have a healthy state of mind too. So that's what we talk about self-compassion. And if we, let's say, if we made a mistake, at first we recognize a mistake and try to let go of our mistake as well as other people's mistakes. Basically, we try our best to maintain the peacefulness, happiness within our mind. That is self-compassion. If we don't have that type of state of mind, there's no way for us to share compassion with other people. Let's say if we uh, mm, have so much temper, right? There's no way for us to share all people compassion, because whenever we talk, people can recognize that kind of frequency, the hot frequency, the angry frequency. So that is similar to second compassion. That's why we do meditation, to calm our mind, to make our mind more peaceful, to make our mind more happy. Yeah, yeah. Dr. William, you want to say anything? You follow, right? And that's why when we do meditation, when we do the prayer, when we do the chant, that's we help ourselves to remain calm, to remain peaceful. That's we have our own self-compassion. So with that type of energy, we could share with other people. Otherwise, if we have empty hand, if we have angry thought, if we're jealous and so forth, with those type of what we call in Buddhism, um, the poison of the mind, there's no way, there's no way for us to spread compassion with other people. But that's why it starts from within ourselves. That's why here the Buddha say that we need to overcome those type of harmful thoughts within ourselves first before we share with others, before we guide other people. Here, one thing is quite different from take minute put ourselves first, because when we put ourselves first, somehow uh, we may not care much about others. Does that make sense, Tammy?
Yes.
Whichever thing we do, if we put all people first, it may increase our compassion. If we put ourselves first, we may not care about other people much. It makes sense? Um, let's say your mother, right? So when your children run around and somehow uh, they hungry, so you need to put them first. Yeah, you need to take care of them, to give them food and so forth. As a mother, we always put our children first before ourselves, and uh, that somehow that's the way we can recognize how we develop the inner peacefulness, inner compassion. It makes sense?
Yes.
It makes sense? Yeah. Okay. All right. So that is the way we overcome, whether we avoid, overcome those kind of harmful thoughts. That means we need to take care of our inner state of being. And outwardly, we share with that kind of peacefulness and happiness or compassion with other people. So let's go back to the case. Let's say uh, uh, our student, let's say your children, right? They're hungry, and if you don't put them first, but as a mother, there's no way for you to consume the food first before them, right? You understand now, right? So what happened if you're hungry then? If you're hungry after they finish eating, you're still hungry. That means you're not compassionate to you, or what? What do you think? Is that conflict?
You
What do
still
you
gotta
think?
put your kids first. You always
Huh?
gotta put your kids first. It doesn't matter. You always gotta put the kids
Yeah.
first, always.
And we know, because the important is the state of mind, right? We have that compassion. We have that kind of thought toward other people. So especially for the young children, yeah, we take care of them first. Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the next items we want to discuss. Let's see here. Uh, okay, let's see here. Go back here. So again, these are the 5 techniques that the Buddha advised. So depend. Sometimes it's useful for us. Sometimes it may not. Depend. So sometimes it is too much for us to have those kind of thought. We can diverse our attention. If we have a lot of things to concern about our teaching, our students, our children, and so forth. So we can diverse attention that to do other things, to sweep the floor, to walk around, right? If it's too much, if it's too much for us to handle, so we can do something else to diverse of the attention. And sometimes we need to accept, but sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes not easy to accept our own thought too. But no matter, we're not supposed to suppress our own thought. Thân thiện, you know why? Why we're not supposed to suppress our own thought, especially, let's say, when you have angry thought, right? It's not healthy to suppress it. Why is that? Thân thiện?
Alright. Yeah, more thai. If you suppress your anger, it will get stronger and stronger if you try to suppress them. I think it's better if you recognize your anger, and if you know that the anger is just a feeling. It just come and go, and if you be able to recognize that, and instead of suppress them, it will settle down and go.
Thank you. About Vivian, can you talk or no?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, that was William. So what do you think? When someone suppress the anger, what do you think?
I think that when you push something down inside you, that it comes back up in unpredictable ways and ways that can be very destructive. So I think that some of the other techniques that the Buddha was talking about will be a better way of dealing with anger, of dealing with negative emotions, than simply to suppress them.
What do you think? How harmful is that if people try to suppress the desire, or anger, jealousy, and so forth? How harmful is that?
I agree with William completely on this. When you try to take a difficult emotion and ignore it, it will manifest in some way. And I'll use an analogy. If you take a balloon and you squeeze it, you get all these little side pieces that come out. But the harder you squeeze, one of those pieces could pop the whole balloon. So it's better to sit with the anger and recognize it as not a part of, as a part of you, but not you.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. In the end, you're just going to explode. So you don't want to suppress it. You want to recognize it for what it is. You don't want to keep mirroring it down. But it's difficult to do.
How can you release that steam?
To see it for what it is. So like you just said, it's the anger, then that's anger. I'm not the anger. And then switch it, then show compassion towards whatever. Water the storehouse with compassion. Rather than feeding the anger anymore, than send it something else.
If it's too much to handle, then if the stress, the pressure, and so forth is too much for you to handle, how could you release that type of steam, that type of angry steam?
That's when you should sit and meditate and just release it all at that point. That's what meditation, I think, does the best, is just you just sit there and allow it, you know, to be, and then let it drift away when it gets really bad and overwhelming like that.
You think devotion is better too? That's one technique, right?
Well, that's like an emergency. That's not good, but it's like an emergency. My son was doing this the other day. It was nighttime. He was, I'm scared, and he wanted to watch a show. And I'm like, you can't watch a show, you know. And then finally he's like, Mom, I just need a distraction. And so it's like he knew what he was doing with it. And I'm like, but once you watch it, it's just going to be there again. Like as soon as that show is over, you're still going to be scared again. So diversion works, but it's just like an emergency kind of situation.
It can temporary, right?
Yes, temporary. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Vivian, are you there, Vivian?
Yeah.
You follow? Can you talk?
Yes.
Okay. So what happened if it's too much for you, right? You follow our conversation, right? If you have so much angry thought, whichever emotion is so strong, and why it's not healthy to suppress them?
Yeah. So, I mean, what I do is like validate myself and like try to be aware of like if in the moment if I'm like really angry like and I can't do anything, I just have to breathe. Like that's just it. To like bring myself back to myself. But like I feel like these feelings of anger, if they keep on coming up from a same thing, like a pattern, like when I see like, you know, what it like the same thing happens over and over again, then like it's like an invitation for me to see to like try to like be more curious about it and try to bring awareness, like my spirit and my like mind to bring awareness to like where this feeling is coming from, like is it from a pattern or like what, and really like kind of like hone in on why I feel these certain sort of ways, to help like understand what my body is trying to tell me, like what I sense as anger or like what I sense as a threat, and to see if it really is a threat or if it's like if it's in a thought pattern that I have that I tell myself, and therefore I make myself angry. And it's like a slow process. It takes a lot of time, but like the anger really is just an invitation for me to see, for me to understand myself.
Yeah, thank you. So that's why, daily practice again is so important, right? When we train our mind, when we focus on the breath, right, and we let go of the thoughts, whether it's good or bad, right? So that's just one of our training. So when we deal with the hostile situation, right, the one that go against our will and so forth, it's much easier for us to let go of those argument or criticism or whichever. We have more wisdom to recognize them instead of suppress the thought. Okay. Anyway, so that is the way the Buddha provide us to deal with those harmful thoughts. Yeah, and okay. So how about confrontation? Recognize, is that healthy? Actually, I think it's similar as the recognition of the thought, right? Recognition of the harmful state of mind, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's the way the Buddha provides us to deal with. So they depend upon the situation. And the next one, the third effort to develop helpful qualities that has not arisen yet. So again, we develop, let's say, generosity, patience, empathy, compassion, and so forth. We try to develop that to live a responsible life that is not neither our mind nor other people's mind, to be honest, and so forth. So we try to develop those kind of virtue within our mind. That's one of the way. And the last one is okay, let's see. To maintain the healthful state that had already arisen in our mind. Let's say if we develop the compassion, patience, loving kindness, forgiveness, and so forth. So we try to develop more. We try to enhance those state of mind. Mm. Last week we celebrate the compassionate Bodhisattva. Right? Dr. William, will you attend our online celebration last Sunday?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that it was taking place.
I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. I didn't. Yeah, sorry. I didn't let you know beforehand. And yeah. So the next celebration will be our Buddha birthday celebration on Memorial Weekend. So hopefully at that time, most people receive the short. So probably it's been more safe for us to come together. Or if you can still concerned, yeah, we still have online. I mean that Zoom observation here, like all the celebration. So to go back, my question is that last time we celebrate that Bodhisattva, and for me, every day after meditation, I decide the what we call recompassion mantra, and other mantra too. And of course, it's related to the faith. It's related to the belief in our tradition. But for me, I feel that it's good enhancement too. Uh, like you mentioned, right? So both of them decide the Heart Sutra.
Well, they don't recite, we just listen to it.
Oh, you listen. Oh, they listen.
So, and
okay.
it's not in English, so we can't understand the words. But
They don't
just
understand.
the sound of it.
The sound.
It helps them.
Yeah.
It helps me too. I play it often.
Yeah.
Is that the compassion mantra that he was talking?
They probably do. It's just
Yeah.
on YouTube.
That's that's called music box, right? That the prayer box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we gave to her. Yeah. So you turn on before they go to sleep.
Yeah, I leave that playing all day. Even I'll just leave it on. But there's one certain one they like listening to go to sleep.
Dr. William, you don't know about this, right? The mantra, you don't know about that, right?
No, I don't.
You don't know too, right? Yeah, that's one of the way. Yeah. So in our Buddhist approach, when we do meditation by ourselves, that's means self effort. We put effort to tame our mind, to control our mind, and the other way is that we rely upon the blessing of protection from Buddhas and Buddhists. But of course, this depend upon your belief. It's like the other tradition, they believe in God and so forth. In Buddhist tradition, especially the Mahayana tradition, we have that two part. One is self-effort, one is other support. Like in our daily life, let's say if we are professors, we are teachers, but we get the support from our supervisor, from our co-workers, from our friends, or sometimes if we're sick, they may help us to take care of our class. And we need all people to produce food for us to consume. We need people to produce cars and so forth. So we run our life by ourselves, but we still depend on so many people. And of course, as a professional teacher, we need students. If there's no student, we cannot teach. So of course they depend upon us to provide the teaching. So that is that is the web of life there. So especially for the children, if they're still young, they rely upon their parents, grandparents, or past parents, or whoever. Of course, when they get older like us, they might mature, they take care of others. But still, for us, we depend on so many people surrounding us to live. So that's why that's the whole idea that yes, when we do meditation, we have that kind of self-support, self-care to develop our own virtue, our own state of mind. In meantimes, we still rely upon the Buddha and Bodhisattva and so forth um, to protect us, to help us out. It's like we're still young. We like the children. Sometimes we need to work by ourselves, but sometimes we need to rely upon our parents and so forth. So that's the way. So of course, it surprises you. No, that's why people consider Buddhism as religion. To religion here in Buddhism doesn't mean that we worship the Buddha, but when we do the prayer, you feel that when we do the prayer, recite mantra every morning, evening, right? How you feel now?
Good. And I noticed the difference too.
Yeah. How?
It just helps bring peace of mind. It helps calm down. And I notice the difference too, the times when I remain silent and just listen, and the times when I speak the words. It's much more powerful when you speak the words. I've noticed that. It makes a big difference.
But you could not understand their recitation, right? Especially mantra recitation, you would not understand much, right? But
some of them I don't, and some of them, well, if when you have the English version, then yeah. But with that part, then I can just meditate for that part and then join back in.
How could you feel?
How do I feel? Like when I just hear the words, or even when I don't understand the words, I'm just hearing it. You can just feel, I guess, the Buddha nature flowing through you. You can feel the vibration, and it's very calming and like clearing for me.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why I just like the Heart Sutra and stuff. I just like listening to it just because it will just kind of vibrate through you and just kind of calm you and kind of just seems clearing.
Yeah. So William, so you listened to our recitation before, right? The mantra sutra before, right?
Yes.
How was that? How did you feel?
I didn't understand much of it, but I felt surrounded and supported by it.
Last Sunday, what did you feel when we decide? That's the first part, the mantra. How did you feel the rhythm of that?
I felt an energy. It was comforting and strengthening. I don't know the words, but the cadence of it was very comforting.
And it's kind of better too.
What is that?
It's kind of, I think, better when you don't understand the words because you're not like focusing on the words or trying to interpret it or trying to understand it. You can just sit and be with it. And easier to at home when there's not or if you're here, just like kind of close your eyes and start meditating. That way you don't see all the other people moving around and all the other. If you can just be in that energy flow, it's nice.
So you follow our recitation for several months, right?
Oh yes.
How long? How long is that?
I don't remember.
Since
probably about 6 months.
6 months. Okay.
Every morning.
Every morning, every evening. So sometimes I do more, sometimes I do just depending on.
How do you get on
The Zoom.
You want, if you like, we can send the link to you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that energy there, the energy, the vibration, right? The frequency, we could feel, right? That's why when we walk into an office, where we work, right? It's quite different from how you come here, right? The temple. And when you go to the bar, when you go to the school, when you go to any place, every place has different vibration, different atmosphere, different frequency. So that's why when here every day we do the prayer, we do the meditation. So as people come here, they feel that kind of peace, that kind of calmness, because that's what we work in to generate this kind of environment. But when we go to the bar, it's quite different, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's what the Buddha say, right? So basically, he said that okay, we need to avoid and overcome our harmful thoughts, and on the other hand, we want to enhance the helpful thought, the compassionate, loving kindness, patience, and so forth. We want to enhance. We want to develop them more, so that it would be helpful for our own lives in general. So that's what we call the right effort is about. Okay. All right. So thank you. So please bookmark the date. Right. This the May 30. Yeah, we have our Buddha birthday celebration here. Yeah. Okay. So thank you. So see you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. More for time.
Stay back. I'd like to talk with you a couple of minutes. No, yeah. Please stay back. Okay. Okay. So see you then. Thank you. Thank you.